welcome to another one of Architect's Unpopular Opinions. Today, I want to touch on a kind of a controversial topic, the Alabama riverfront fight that broke out a couple of days ago. I kind of want to offer another dimension to the conversation, and I'm aware how risky that is. So before I even give my opinion, I want to say that I don't think any of the people that came to the rescue of the security guard did anything wrong. In fact, if I was there, I probably would have gotten involved myself. So I want to start there, and I want to emphasize that I do understand that sometimes it is necessary to take actions like that. I also understand the historical significance in Alabama of that happening. I also want to acknowledge the amount of anguish and despair that was being expressed in that video. And I think that that's also important to note. And that, because a lot of people say that, well, slavery happened so long ago and, civil rights happened X amount of time ago in the 60s. And so that it is not relevant today. But that energy is absolutely prevalent today. And I understand that. And I also understand how that type of anguish and that type of despair and those feelings, especially with the amount of brutality that was involved in slavery and how it got passed down through the generations. I think that's something that a lot of people miss, especially people that haven't experienced it firsthand. So I want to start by saying that I do understand all of those things. I just think that we get so into this kind of mob mentality that we don't like to have an open discussion about these things. And I think that it's critical that at these moments right here, after something like this happens, that there's opportunity for open and free dialogue. I think that's the only way to make progress through something like this. And I understand that people want to have solidarity in a time like this. People want to move to the beat of the same drum. And I do get that. But I think that that's where we kind of get trapped. That's where these things kind of don't work out in our favor in the past, right? I think that the only way forward is through free discourse, open dialogue, civil conversations, and coming to agreements, and also seeking to understand where other people are coming from, and also speaking in a way that they understand us, and so that they can kind of feel that anguish, you know what I'm saying? And what I see right now happening, and what I've also seen in the past after things like this has happened, is that anyone that steps outside of this kind of script, they get backlash, they get outcasted. No one really wants to hear what they're saying. No one wants to listen. And I seen Marlon Wayans post something like "Love Not War," and he immediately got backlash for that. And I was like, that's an okay perspective to have, I feel like. You know what I'm saying? I think that that's something that we will all agree on, but it's just not a part of the mob mentality that everyone is involved in. He's not speaking with the same voice that everyone is speaking with, which I understand. Like I said, I think that it is important to move with solidarity. But right now, there should be an open discussion. There should be an open dialogue. There should be free discourse. We should be bouncing ideas off of each other, not just other Black people, but also people from the other side, people from all races. We should want to get into these uncomfortable conversations and then try to push forward from there. And that's what really bothers me about this. I seen on Twitter a girl post something similar to what Marlon Wayans posted, and there was immediately hundreds of comments just dragging her. And I think that what she was saying was taken out of context. And that if it was posted, if she said the same exact thing at any other time, and I understand that it's a very sensitive moment, that's why I'm trying to also be careful with my words. I don't want anything that I say to be taken out of context. And also, I'm aware that I'm not the best at verbalizing my thoughts. I'm good at articulating, but I'm not good at verbalizing my thoughts, if that makes any sense. Like, I can articulate very well and I can make it sound good, but sometimes my thoughts gets lost in communication, and I'm aware of that, and that's something that I've been working on. But I see that people just drag anyone that has anything different to say. And I think that it's important that we keep an open mind, also an open heart when we're dealing with issues like this, because what we don't want to do is to keep repeating the same pattern. And that's what we've been doing for generations, is just repeating the same pattern. Something happens, we express outrage, and then weeks later, we forget about it. Or in this case, we're celebrating something that we consider a win. And that's another thing. Like, I wouldn't really be so quick to look at this as a win. I think that those people did exactly what they're supposed to do. I think the white people that attacked the security guard got what they deserved. But I wouldn't be so quick to count this as a win. And the reason is, I think that these things get perpetuated and pushed on us in a certain way with a certain narrative. And I think that we're all on both sides kind of falling into this trap, to where there's an elite class way above that are looking at both sides and kind of laughing at us, you know what I'm saying, as a joke, and not laughing with us, but laughing at us. And although that elite class may be majority white, and although they may very well be racist, I don't think race plays as much as a role to them as it does to us. And I think that that benefits them. And I think that they perpetuate it in a way that we continue to let it affect us in major ways. And I think that if we get past these small differences and these small issues, we can really make some serious progress and affect serious change in society. I remember years ago, I read the Willie Lynch speech. And if you're not familiar with what that is, there's some debate on if Willie Lynch was a real person and if he actually gave this speech or not, or whether it was just a made up thing. But one thing's for sure is that these tactics were used and they are still effective today. One of the things that I took from reading that speech that always stuck with me is that, because I was always under the impression that every white person in the South had a plantation and was a slave owner, and that was incorrect. And after reading the Willie Lynch theory, I was able to kind of have a new perspective of how I thought about race matters in America. One of the key takeaways for me was the technique that it used to pit people against each other to maintain control, to make sure the dark skins didn't like the light skin, the older people didn't like the younger people, the men and the women, to pit everyone against each other. And another technique that they used, and because it was said, how will you keep the lower class white people from revolting and wanting what you got? Because again, not every white person was a slave owner. So it was proposed to this Willie Lynch person, how will we get the lower class people not to revolt against us and take our land, take our slaves, take our wealth, essentially. And what he proposed was that you keep them at a low level, but not as low as the slaves. As long as they feel like they're above someone on any level, they won't revolt. They won't try to come and take what you have. I see that playing out today. And it's kind of like black versus white, old versus young. And really, it's keeping the people in power. And it's unfair across the board. And I feel like African Americans get the shorter end of the stick, but we could even the playing ground if we come together. These are the type of thoughts that shape the establishment to its very core. And how I know that is because anytime anyone with any influence says things like that, they get rid of them. Malcolm X was a prominent figure in the 60s. He spoke at colleges. He was very articulate. He was very smart. When he was pushing a separatist type of agenda, they were able to kind of control his image. They demonized him in the media. Once he took his pilgrimage and he came back to America from Mecca, he did away with that. And he said that he didn't want to push that agenda anymore. In fact, he said that he recognized all people to be children of Allah and that he loved every color and that he wanted to see people unified. And as soon as he took that approach, he was assassinated, unfortunately. Fred Hampton reached across the aisle and met with a racist white group. They were working together. They wanted to unify all of the races against the corrupt government. Fred Hampton was assassinated and that dream died with him. We all know that Martin Luther King also had a dream and was also assassinated. So it seems like the idea of unifying the races shakes the establishment to its very core. They do not want to see it. And I think that it is important that we at least try to make this right. And I'm not saying that that means be tolerant to racism. That is not at all what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is through open dialogue and free discourse, we can come to terms and come together as people. I don't think that racist white people, poor white people, are an imminent threat to the culture. I don't think that. I think that they are also being bamboozled. Rich white people call poor white people bottom feeders. I know that. I've been told that, and I don't like that. That doesn't sit well with me. I remember watching a Dave Chappelle skit where he had said during the 2016 election, he went to go cast his vote, and that he was around a lot of Trump supporters, and that he was sad for them because rich white people had told him how they really felt about poor white people. So I think that it seems like it's by design almost, because it works out for the very wealthy in America that we are divided down here on the lowest levels. And so I want to see that change. That's what I want to see change. And there are going to be people, if I post this to Twitter or if I say this, going to say, oh, look, he's defending the white people. I see that all the time. And I'm like, I seen that on Twitter today. where this girl posted something similar to what Marlon Wayans was saying. Like, look, she's defending the white people. She's not one of us. She's a race traitor. And I'm like, that's not really what I got from it. And it's just unfortunate that so many people are kind of like, I feel like, conditioned into only having one way of thought, right? And they're not really open to even hearing anything outside of that. And I think that that's dangerous because it stunts growth, and there will not be any progress being made. And we see that the same thing happens over and over again when there's no free discourse. And the only people that really benefit are the people at the very, very top. And we're stuck going through this the same thing over and over and over again. I have personally spent time with a lot of racist white people, and I'm just gonna say that they're not terrible, terrible people. They're not impossible to work with. They're not, I've had conversations with them. And one thing that I found is that they have the same mistrust of police as I do. They have the same gripes against the government as I do. There's more similarities there than differences. The only real difference is that there's I love my people, they love their people. You know what I'm saying? There's small differences, but and I'm not saying that these differences can be overlooked. What I'm saying though is that through open dialogue, through an very uncomfortable conversation, some of these issues can actually be worked out. You may not be able to change anyone's mind. No one may not be able to change your mind. But speaking to someone to seek to understand and be understood, I think will go a long way in us actually making change happen in this country, and is much needed right now. And so maybe I'm an optimist for thinking that we can reach progress through unification. But for some strange reason, every time someone comes up that can unify people and has that inclusive energy, they make sure that that person is removed, right? They get them out of the way, and I want to push that. I want to push that and find out why. What scares them so much about us not being so divided? And I really do think that there's a way for that to happen. I see that happening, but I think that the only way that that can happen is through open dialogue. So I'm hoping that maybe not this time, maybe not next time, but sometime in the future, people can actually have a civilized conversation about matters like this and actually get somewhere. And I think that we could all focus on the real enemy after that. You know what I'm saying? Because racist white people, although they may be an inconvenience, they're not an imminent threat. And there are imminent threats out there, and there are groups that are actively working to keep things the way they are, I'll say. And if you don't want things to remain the way they are, then I would suggest keeping an open mind and an open heart, especially after things like this happen. So maybe not this time, maybe not next time, but maybe sometime in the future, there will be a national conversation that actually promotes growth, that actually sets precedents for unity, and we can go a long way together as Americans. There's definitely room for improvement. There's room to grow. I will cut this short. That's my opinion. That's my personal opinion. If you don't agree with my opinion or anything that I say here, I welcome criticism. I welcome opposing opinions. I welcome dialogue, open dialogue. I open debates. I welcome that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm willing to grow. If someone can point out something that I said wrong here, I'm willing to learn. If someone can show me where I was wrong, I'm willing to learn. I want that. I welcome that. I invite that. I love that. That's one of the things that I love most about dialogue. It's the growth. I've had heated debates with people, and I hung to my values, and then walked away from that exchange and actually thought about it. And I'm like, wow, I can't lie, that does make a lot of sense, right? And it shifted my whole perspective. And maybe the person that I was debating with never even knew. But I think that that's why it's so important to have these conversations, right? Because even if the person doesn't get what you're saying in that moment, you still planted the seed. And who knows, maybe a seed was planted in you. And that's how we grow together. That's how we share information and grow together. That's how all major accomplishments in all fields got done, right? Albert Einstein didn't do it on his own. He had to have conversations with Neil Bohr to solve the equations. He wasn't the greatest at solving the equations. So it's that kind of dialogue that helps us grow, that helps us all mature, that helps us share information. And I think that that can happen on both sides of the board. Even if you don't agree with the other person, there may be some things that you can take from that conversation that makes you a better human being. And that's the real win. That's the real win. You know what I'm saying? You don't always have to be right. It doesn't matter about being right and wrong. It matters about understanding and growing. And that's why I think it's so important that we have these conversations. And it's unfortunate that we shy away from these conversations that are very important and necessary to have. And I mean, we've come a long way, but we still got a long way to go. And I think that the only way forward from here is together. So with that, I'll end. I love you guys as always. I want you guys to love each other, be kind to each other. Once in a while, you may have to punch somebody in the mouth. That's okay too, right? That's okay too. But love each other, man. Spread love. Try to spread peace when you can. Stand up for yourself. Also, stand up for your neighbor. Also, but also spread love and try to understand people's different perspectives and understand that that's okay for someone to have a different opinion. But dialogue is also very important. So share with one another, love one another, be kind to one another when you can, and then don't when you can't, don't, as always, but love each other. I love you guys. I really do. Thank you guys for listening to my opinion. Um, take care. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Even if you gotta hit somebody with a chair.